it feels like about 2 short years ago that Bayer acquired Monsanto for about $63 billion, and since
Right.
then we've reported on just plummeting headlines and plummeting stock prices and terrible headlines like this one. This came out yesterday. This was out of NBC News. It says Bayer reaches over $10 billion settlement in Roundup cancer lawsuits. So,
Wow.
these headlines have been going on for a couple years now. Bayer has been faced with three high-profile lawsuits in full public view. They've lost all three of them, totaling about $2 billion. Now, those were later reduced by judges, but the juries found in these cases that the glyphosate-based Roundup product did lead to non-Hodgkin's lymphoma cancers, found that Monsanto and Bayer hid the risks, failed to warn users. So what this settlement will do is going to resolve 3/4 of the outstanding Roundup cases, and that's been estimated at 125,000 to date. And it sets
Wow.
aside money for future litigation.
So it doesn't even cover all of the cases. And clearly, when you saw, those large, and remember, we had on Brent Wisner, who the brilliant lawyer that's been running this case from the beginning. In fact, and as you know, I covered Monsanto and glyphosate and the fact that the WHO ruled that it's probably carcinogenic to human beings. I started this story back when I was a producer on the CBS Talk Show, The Doctors. So I have been on this, and my executive producer, after I left the Doctors to make back, she brought Brent Wisner on. That's how we have that connection. So we, as a team here at the High Wire, even before the High Wire, have been really on top of this. But here's my question, okay? 10 billion, not million, 10 billion settlement. This is a gigantic settlement that they've agreed to, right? They're not saying that they want to have it reduced from there. They're saying, how much can we get off of our back for $10 billion? It gives you a sense of how large these companies are, that doesn't somehow bankrupt them. But my question in these headlines, and when I walk through the grocery store and I pick up products, I don't see, Roundup disappearing from the shelves. I don't hear farmers talking about the fact that we're moving in a new direction with herbicides on that are being sprayed on Roundups on 80 to 90% of the food that we eat. So are we to understand that this $10 billion will be paid out, yet no change will be made to the use of Roundup in the United States of America?
Unfortunately, not as of yet, unless it comes from activist groups putting pressure on the distributors. But we have looking at other cases is like the talc baby powder.
Right.
They discontinued that. That was a 100-year legacy product. They were just getting waves of lawsuits. One of them was just reduced to $2 billion after it was given a $4 billion lawsuit for 22 women. So sometimes that happens. If you look at big pharma stuff, you have a list of civil and criminal settlements over in the billions, but they still keep selling their products. So this is not too uncommon, but this is a major hit for Bayer. And what's interesting, to piggyback off of what you just said, hidden in this settlement and in this story is a little known herbicide called dicamba, as far as the public's concerned. Now, this has been going on for the dicamba has been used for over 50 years, and it was being looked at kind of like the next glyphosate, like the next Roundup. Bayer was actually going to be facing a future wave of lawsuits. What happened in early June, this is out of the Wall Street Journal, the court overturned EPA approval of Bayer's dicamba spray. So the U.S. Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals said Wednesday that the Environmental Protection Agency in 2018 failed to acknowledge or significantly understated risks posed by the three herbicides. Now, another one's made by BASF. So what happened was Monsanto reformulated it and developed dicamba-resistant soybean and cotton crops. And
Wow.
the idea was to replace Roundup in those crops with dicamba. But the EPA pulling this kind of checkmated that point. And this was also in the settlement. So they're paying, in this $10 billion settlement, they're paying $400 million to resolve this groundswell of legal lawsuits coming up. And another thing, this was, I guess, if you're following this case and you don't like Monsanto and Bayer, this is a positive headline for you. They actually canceled their expansion, a nearly $1 billion expansion to one of their plants. And in a statement, Bayer Crop Sciences said, while a difficult decision, this enables us to preserve cash and prioritize our investments in new innovation for farmers. So, they're cash hungry at this point, and that's obvious.
Well, let me just make this point clear to our audience. Bayer just decided the best way out of these lawsuits was not to bring some science that proves that the product is actually safe, but to pay out $10 billion. So if you're asking yourself what you want to spray on your lawn this week, please keep in mind that $10 billion has been paid out on a product that caused a horrific disease called non-Hodgkin's lymphoma, and dicamba that was supposed to replace it, also problematic. And if you want to just take that thought maybe one step further, recognize that Bayer has a lot of other products you use, and when they kill and have thousands of people lined up in courtrooms, they don't even pull their products. It's more important that they continue to make money. So as you vote with your dollar, you may want to think about how many Bayer products you want to consider supporting. If you like that clip, then be sure to check out our live broadcast of The High Wire every Thursday morning at 11 a.m. Pacific Time. You can watch it on Facebook, YouTube, iTunes, and Twitter. We'll see you there.